here with us in the studio, and I'm not sure if he wants to jump on right after that, but I apologize for putting him on the spot. But State Rep Mike France is going to join us for the fastest hour in radio, and nobody breaks it down better than Mike does. How are you, Mike?
Excellent. How you doing, Lee?
All right, so what do you want to start?
Where do I want to start?
Yeah, I mean, you want to start with tolls? You want to start with the conversation in Hartford? I know. First of all, we got to remind everybody, and we'll do it a couple of times, you're going to be on television this Sunday.
Absolutely. Yeah, Max Reese, who hosts a show called Face the Facts on NBC 30, 11:30 Sunday morning, taped a show with him concerning the restoration of capital punishment and a point-counterpoint. It was interesting back and forth with his subject. And Mike Lawler was the counterpoint to that, which was a very interesting show. So I look forward to seeing the final produced version.
Right.
He also does a kind of like a outnumbered overtime kind of thing that Fox News does with the online thing. He does a similar thing with each of the major hosts to do a 3 to 5 minute dive into a little bit deeper that goes out on social media, which will come out after the fact as well.
Oh, very cool. I like that. I'm looking forward to seeing that. Okay, so that's this Sunday at 10 o'clock?
11:30.
11:30. Okay, and it's basically it's as simple as a point counterpoint. So you give your point, he gives his.
Right.
It's a debate format.
And then they had a gentleman who was Jerry was her first name, but anyway, who was the last execution was in 2005.
Right.
Mike Ross, I believe, was his name, but he was one of the 5 news reporter witnesses to that. So he introed and kind of described the arrival, and then in between the two, point counterpoint, he kind of described the next phase, and then ended it with the execution itself and the effect it had on him actually.
Right.
So
interesting. And Michael Ross was a huge story. I mean, I don't know if you were around here then, but it was a huge story, and he had to beg to get put to death, and that's the biggest problem for me with the death penalty is all the bells and whistles and hoops you got to jump through to get somebody from the guilty to execution. You're talking about 20 years in most cases, and even then, you don't know if it's actually going to get go through and actually happen. So we were talking a little bit off the air just about capital punishment, and your stance, you didn't even get into that yet, but your stance obviously is you'd be in favor of it in certain crimes, correct?
Absolutely. I think it's a tool. The one thing that the people who are against the death penalty, one is the point that you raise is it's a long process.
Right.
What about the victims? And honestly, you really don't hear a lot from the victims in these cases about the process, because it's rather benign to them as they go through the appeals process that is mandated. But secondly is the cost, that it's supposedly cheaper to give life without parole. The one difference, though, that people don't take into account is that one is when you're in life without parole, you're in the general population. Yes, there's maybe some restrictions on you from the general, but when you're on death row, you are isolated. And so it's a different area of the prison, so it is not the same. And so I think that there's some measure, and one of the challenges is the deterrent factor. We don't know how many crimes didn't get committed or how many murders weren't committed because of the deterrent factor in that. And that's the hardest part to actually characterize. And I get that. But there is some measure of deterrent inherent in that. There's also just the fact that there are the most egregious crimes, and we've just witnessed one in New Zealand, that I would argue there is no redeemable characteristic of that individual. And so why should that person, if he's convicted in due process of the law, why should he get to live when the 49 people that he killed do not?
Right. I agree.
And so I think there are certain circumstances that probably everybody would agree to. And I think one of the points that I raised, you'll see as I was related to just how the death penalty was overturned. It's interesting when you go back and look at the history within the state of Connecticut. So just for functional purposes, 2005 was the last execution in the state. Prior to that was 1960, so a long time between executions. And there were only 11 people on death row in the state when the death penalty was overturned. Interestingly enough, it was made prospective. In other words, the 11 that were there were still going to have their punishment meted out. The challenge with that is there's no way, and this was raised during debate, that would be deemed constitutional under equal protection clauses, equal punishment, all those kinds of things. And that is, in fact, what happened. And so I think that was disingenuous in that. And for those that aren't aware of the near-term thing that happened was the Cheshire home invasion with Doc Pettit's family who was killed. That was what got people up in arms. And if you poll across the country, across the state, it's still well above 60% of people that believe there ought to be a death penalty. And it's only saved for the most egregious crimes. So it's really kind of an interesting situation, but I do agree that in the case of how it's been implemented, as you raised, there's the cost factor as well as the fact that you just don't do it. And the consequence of that is that the drug cocktail, if you will, is not available. And certainly there are drug companies that refuse to make it.
Right.
And so that's a challenge as well, just with the pure function of meting out that punishment. And it is simplistically in a free market a supply and demand. If there aren't a lot of executions happening, then a company manufacturing that cocktail wouldn't do it.
I would assume that the same ingredients, sadly, that puts a dog down when they're sick would do the trick, I would think. I mean, I would guess it would. On the other side, we can always do what China does, which is, shoot the people and then bill the family with a bullet, which is, I think they do charge the family $1 for the bullet. And listen, it's maybe it sounds like it's harsh, but the truth is, we're not talking about everyday cases. We're talking about the worst of the worst. And to make examples out of those people, I think, is something that absolutely 100% would be a deterrent to people. If you had a gallows, you had a public hanging, I think before someone runs into a store with a gun and shoots the place up, they would think twice about it. I do. I honestly think that, because I think most of the people are cowards deep down, and they don't want to feel that pain.
I think there's some merit to that. The challenge, once again, is there's not a lot of data. So the people that are against the death penalty use that information to say there's not a deterrent factor in that. But we just don't know. But human nature being what it is, you're right that there is a decision point where they might hesitate, knowing that the very real possibility of the consequence of that or the punishment of meted out, as opposed to just hanging out in jail. Now, people who are free don't understand. They think that would be a harsh penalty. I would agree, but if you are a criminal, get to live.
Yeah.
I get 3 squares a day. I get education. I get all this stuff. Yes, my freedom's taken away, and that's a punishment. But does it match the crime? And I would argue that it doesn't.
I agree. And the fact that the Commissar Jeske and the other clown, that they get a chance to wake up every day. And, maybe some of their days are miserable, and I'm sure they are, but there's also, I'm sure, times where they laugh and they joke, and there's, good times to be had and a Super Bowl to be watched, and Christmas comes and goes, and what have you. Those folks in the Pettit family, they don't get that.
Right.
And to me, those people, there's got to be some retribution for what they did. Anyway, okay, so that'll be this weekend.
Yeah, and it's interesting as this was one of the caucus bills for the Conservative Caucus as we headed into this session, the Conservative Caucus, which I was elected to chair for this next 2 years.
Right.
We have 8 bills that were in our session portfolio that we did for our caucus positions, and one of them was the restoration of capital punishment,
right?
Which is how the topic came up, and it was a timing to have that conversation.
All right. Listen, Mike France, State Rep, is here with us in the studio. We'd love to hear from you. We only have an hour. We don't have enough time because Mike has just got all kinds of different things to talk about, but I'm not going later than 1 o'clock. I'll be out the door because I got to get to my dog. But Mike is here with us. If you want to call, we'd love to hear from you. All topics up for grabs for the entire hour. Nobody breaks it down like Mike does. 860-464-9490 or 631-317-1949. Before we get to the break real quick, though, let me tell you about Rob Nevins and My Slim Nation. MySlimNation.com. Right now, you can go online, check out whether there's maybe there's a seminar near you, and you can go see Rob. I'm telling you right now, if you're looking to lose weight and you had trouble in the past, or maybe you've yo-yoed, you've had something work for you for a little while, then you gain the weight back. Rob gives you a lifestyle change. He really does, and he's going to be there for you. That's kind of half of it. Like, he's there, you have trouble, you go in and you see him. Next thing you know, you're back on the track and you're back losing weight. So maybe you want to take your shirt off at the pool this summer, guys, or maybe you want to wear that special bikini, ladies. You can do that by contacting Rob Nevins. MySlimNation.com. Check it out today. MySlimNation.com. See what the next seminar is. All right, 3-minute break. We'll be back. Don't move.
Hi, I'm Nick Kaplanson, President and CEO of Dime Bank. Every day brings the opportunity to stand up and stand together. Every day brings the chance to unite. Together, we can help those in need by supporting United Way's vital safety net of 70 local programs and services. Because change doesn't happen alone. Hope isn't a one-man band, and to live better, we must live united. Please join Dime Bank as we partner with United Way and consider making a donation to United Way of Southeastern Connecticut. Thank you.
You buy better.
Better it burns.
Much better.
So much better it burns. The right insurance at the right price. You buy better it burns.
You buy better. It burns. You buy better.
What means the most to you when purchasing insurance? The Burns Agency wants to know. Is it price, coverage, convenience? Do you want to do it all from the comfort of your home? Would you like to sit with a licensed professional? Well, we've got great news. At the Burns Agency, you don't have to choose. We offer the most comprehensive insurance programs at unbeatable prices. We can execute 100% electronic, or you can come and meet with us in one of our convenient Norwich or Dayville locations. Call us today and let us show you do buy better at Burns.
You buy better.
Better it burns.
Much better.
So much better it burns. The right insurance at the right price. You buy better it burns.
You buy better. It burns. You buy better.
It's Truck Month all month long at MJ Sullivan Chevrolet Buick, and you can save up to $11,000 or get rates as low as 0% for 72 months on every new Silverado in stock. That's right, all month long. Save up to $11,000 or get 0% financing for 72 months on all new Silverados. Match this, the all-new, completely redesigned 2019 Silverado Double Cab LT 4x4 with the All-Star Edition. Save over $7,000, buy for $37,498 or lease for only $399. Match this, a 2018 Silverado Crew Cab Z71 4x4 with the All-Star Edition. Save $11,000, buy for only $38,750. Match this, a 2019 Colorado 4x4 Extended Cab. Save over $5,200, buy for $26,897 or lease for only $279. Also, we'll match or beat any dealer's advertised price or discount coupon in every department every day. Save up to $11,000 or get rates as low as 0% financing for 72 months during Truck Month. But it's only at MJ Sullivan Chevrolet Buick in New London or mjsullivangm.com.
Lee Elci in the morning. Here's what you missed.
Greg Gutfeld. Greg, good morning, buddy. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me, and thank you for the kind words.
One and only Mike Gallagher joining us. How are you, pal?
I'm great.
Jesse Waters. Good morning, buddy. How are you?
Good morning, Lee.
Brett Baer from Fox News. Brett, good morning. How are you, sir?
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
I mentioned here on Facebook, Twitter, etc., that we're going to have on Tucker Carlson, and everyone is going nuts. Tucker, good morning, man. Thanks for calling in today.
Lee Elci, weekday mornings on 94.9 News Now. Don't miss it.
Okay, we're back. That was loud. It's 24 minutes after the noon. I guess the noon time hour. Is that what we're going to call that, Mike?
Fastest hour on radio.
Fastest hour on radio. Mike France with us here, state rep. I know you have a million things to talk about, but I did want to ask you one question on a national issue. And I know there was, I mean, maybe it was a little bit more than a year ago, but there was actually some members, and I don't know who they were. I honestly don't. I mean, and maybe you were one of them. And if you were, you can explain to me. But there was some stuff going around the state of Connecticut where there were some legislators, and they were Republican, who wanted to, at the very least, investigate one vote, get rid of the Electoral College, right? And I know that's up again now. I think Elizabeth Warren and Gillibrand also said that, and maybe it was Booker. But what are your thoughts on that?
I think that the challenge you face with the national popular vote movement is a lack of understanding of why that process, the Electoral College, was created. You have a lot of myths out there, like the 3/5 compromise with the counting of slaves. You have other things. The reality is, it was the fact that states like Rhode Island, very small, didn't want to be beholden to Virginia and New York.
Right.
And so the structure was created in that way. If you take the logical extension, you look at the last election, and there are only 5 elections in the history of our country that the popular vote did not align with the Electoral College. It happens that 2 of them were in 2000, 2016.
Right.
But the reality is that they think it will be, the advocates claim now it'll be a 50-state race. The reality is it wouldn't be. because there's only a finite amount of money. And so they would still focus on, now it would be the population centers instead of the different states that are the swing states. So it would just change where that happens. But if you look at the last election, almost the entire popular vote margin was the city of L.A.
Huh.
Literally.
Interesting.
And so when you go back to that, I think the popular vote margin was just around 3 million votes.
Right.
City of LA was just over 2 million vote margin.
Okay.
The entire state of California was over 3 million.
Right.
And so you look at that one state, literally, is the margin for the popular vote.
Right.
And so the challenge is that if you go to a national popular vote, one vote counts. The real challenge, beyond the fact that it would be remarkably unfair, in many respects. The second is you would never get a satisfactory vote. And why is that? Because every vote counts. You don't have the isolation, so you would never know. You would have lawsuits because any fraud would matter. Because every vote counts.
Sure.
Any amount of fraud, no matter how small, where we are isolated now, it is rare. There's fraud that happens, but it's rare that it has an impact on any individual race because it's not large enough. But if you now say that every vote counts, you would be having potentially legal challenges in a close race that would never end because they wouldn't be resolved because now you're talking about across the country as opposed to one state, which has been the case. In the case of 2000, it was Florida and the Hanging Chad. In the case of 2016, there was no challenge, but there were just a handful of states that were, within a close margin with recounts. And so you narrow that field. And that's an unintended consequence of this action. Now, the National Compact, National Popular Vote Compact that various states, I think Colorado was the latest one, went into, first off, states are not allowed to enter into interstate compacts without permission of Congress. So even if all these states pass this, Congress still has to approve it, number one.
Okay.
Number two, they're taking the national popular vote. But what's to stop a bunch of red states going off and saying that we're not going to take the entire nation, we're only going to take our member states' popular vote and give the votes that way? It's not a workable solution, and it really would turn our country into a pure democracy, which we are not. We are a republic, and that is a thing lost as well on the discussion.
When I was younger, I used to think that it was, the one vote, it just seemed like it would made more sense, right? One vote, my vote counts just like somebody else's vote counts, just like somebody else's vote counts. But, when you take a step back and kind of look at what was built here and look why they did some of the things that they've done, it's ingenious the way they put this all together. And I don't think they did it by accident. I think they really had a plan, right? I mean, seriously, the founding fathers really, they got it. And they were brilliant. And they were, it may have been even divine intervention to make it come out as perfect as it is.
Well, they did. And what they did then was to look at what had worked and what didn't work in other countries. They were practical historians. They went and looked at what worked and didn't in other countries. Why did the Roman Empire fall? What worked in England? What didn't work there in the monarchy phase? Right. So they were instructed or informed by things of the day, and they wanted to put as many protections in place. Now, we have corrupted that system over 240 years, both the federal level and state level, to where it was supposed to be empowering to the individual freedom, individual rights. So.
Right. All right, we'll come back. Listen, we got a couple people who want to talk about this. So I apologize. You guys got to hang in there. I do got to sweep through the bottom of the hour. Since we're kind of locked in with 4 other stations, we got to make the time exact and precise. So we'll come back and we'll continue this conversation. We'll take more calls. State Rep Mike France with us here in the studio. Please don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Breaking news from 94.9 News Now.
Police need your help to solve a cold case in Norwich. They're looking for Kenneth Reed, last seen at his parents' Forest Street home in March 1989 when he was 25. They found his vehicle in his parents' driveway, but no one has seen him since. If you know anything, please call police. The Waterford East Lyme Animal Control released a public service announcement after a domestic dog tested positive for rabies. The dog spent time in both the Groton and New London areas. Pet owners, please make sure your dogs and cats are vaccinated against the disease, a precaution which is required by the state. And Putnam police charged a 53-year-old man with 3 counts of third-degree sexual assault. This comes after a long investigation into multiple incidents of assault that were reported by an 18-year-old female victim. Stephen Veretta Putnam is now being held on a $150,000 bond. The forecast for eastern Connecticut and the Hamptons: cloudy skies today with a high of 47. I'm Sherry Wright. When news breaks, we break in. 94.9 News Now and stimulating talk.
I'm Frank Miller with Your Money Now. Well, after opening to the downside, stocks have turned positive. The Dow up over 200 points at last check. The majors in positive territory after closing mixed for the past 2 days. The early weakness on Wall Street came as investors were still taking in the Federal Reserve's monetary policy announcement Wednesday. The Fed said that it no longer expects to raise interest rates this year. Some traders deciphering the downwardly revised interest rate forecasts as an expectation of slow economic growth for the rest of the year. There was also a bit of early anxiety about the potential for a U.S. and China trade deal that weighed on the markets a bit, along with some concerns over the Brexit situation. However, stocks turned higher as the morning went on, amid some positive economic news, and as Apple leads the charge on Wall Street, the Labor Department said that there was a bigger than expected drop in initial jobless claims the week ended March 16th. Elsewhere, another report from the Philadelphia Federal Reserve showed that regional manufacturing activity was able to bounce back more than expected in March, and that's after it unexpectedly contracted during the month of February. And that's your...
Even though it's truck month at M.J. Sullivan Chevrolet Buick, with savings up to $11,000 or rates as low as 0% for 72 months on every new Silverado in stock, you can also save up to 24% off on all the rest of our Chevrolet lineup. That's right, up to 24% off. That's crazy. Match this: a 2019 Chevy Cruze, save 24%. Buy for $17,995 or lease for only $245. Match this: a 2019 Chevy Equinox all-wheel drive, save 23%. Buy for $22,793 or lease for only $217. Match this: a 2019 Chevy Malibu LT, save 22%. Buy for $21,998 or lease for only $256. Also, we'll match or beat any dealer's advertised price or discount coupon in every department every day. So if a truck's not for you, remember you can now save up to 24% on the rest of our Chevrolet lineup. That's right, up to 24% off. But it's only at M.J. Sullivan Chevrolet Buick in New London or at mjsullivangm.com.
You are where you buy at M.J. Sullivan Auto.com.
And now the McKinney Mobile Mix All Concrete Band will play the new McKinney Mobile Mix jingle.
And a 1, and a 2, and a... Thank you.
McKinney Mobile Mix, 848-6657 Uncasville.
McKinney, he's getting skinny. Bang, zoom.
Insurance and financial planning can be confusing. And guess what? Your GPS won't help. But Northeast Financial Group can. At Northeast Financial Group, we don't just insure you, we insure your future. We put together your plan, your way. And because we're family owned and independent, we work with over 50 companies, making sure you have the right plan, the right course for your financial future. We have all forms of insurance: home, auto, life, health, and financial planning. Let our team put together a plan for you and set a course that's full speed ahead. Visit our virtual insurance office at nefinancialgroup.com, where you can get information or a quote. Serving Connecticut and Rhode Island for over 20 years. The right course for your future. Call 860-739-3124, 860-739-3124, or visit nefinancialgroup.com. GPS, that's good for some things, but for insurance and financial planning, trust Northeast Financial Group.
Hello, everybody. Dennis O'Brien from the O'Brien Retirement Investment Group in Mystic, Connecticut, located at Exit 90 down from Stake Loft, reminding you all to open your mail because your tax documents are coming. Many of you choose to do your own taxes, but I would urge you to consider using a tax pro this year, especially if you're self-employed or have a lot of changes. Many of the tax regs are still being written, making it especially hazardous to do your taxes this year. If you need a referral to a tax pro, let me know, because that's one of the many things we do for our clients, no matter how wealthy they are. And remember to tune in 10 a.m. a.m. Saturday mornings to the Retirement Life and Investing Show, where we discuss your future, your retirement, your money, and how it all can come together. After 39 years, I can help you with the right questions and help you with the answers, too. And visit us at o'brienretire.com or call me at 860-415-9614. I look forward to meeting you soon, and have a blessed day.
Securities and advisory services through Independent Financial Group, LLC, a registered broker-dealer and investment advisor member, FINRAS IPC.
Hey, this is Johnny Mack with Saybrook Buick GMC, and we have a 99% approval rate. It means most people can get a new or used car with little to no money down, regardless of your credit. Saybrook Buick GMC has helped hundreds of people, even if they are upside down in their trade or have been turned down by other dealers. It's time to get to Saybrook Buick GMC and pick out that new or pre-owned car and drive it home today. A 5-minute call means you can get pre-approved. So call Saybrook Buick GMC at 860-388-2100.
All right, everybody, we're back. It's 36 minutes after the hour of noon. Hopefully, maybe you're having some soup, having some lunch. Is it cold out there, Mike?
No, it's a beautiful day.
Okay, good. I haven't been out.
It's almost like spring.
I get locked in, and then I'm done. I'm in the box for 8 hours. All right, so Mike in New London wants to weigh in. Mike, my friend, thanks for waiting. You're up, sir.
No problem. Real quick, because it's the fastest hour in talk radio. First of all, Mike France, state rep, he's a politician, right?
That's what they say.
His lips are moving. Number two, the problem with the election popular vote for president, it was never, ever in the Constitution that the president is elected by popular vote. That's a failure of the school system, or the education system, to educate people. And the other part of that is there's more than just the Constitution. The thinking behind the Constitution and Declaration of Independence is explained in the Federalist Papers that people don't even know about or even recognize. The last thing I'll talk about is that with the death penalty, I'm with you 100%, but the bleeding heart liberals, for some reason a couple of years ago, maybe 10, 20 years ago, decided that it's not crime and punishment, it's crime and rehabilitation. And what has happened, even in the prison system, which will now bleed over into the regular population, is what we call self-help. And back in the day, listen here, Lee, and you know this, if your sister or your little sister or your mother got raped by the village idiot, there would have been no trial. And I'll hang up and you guys continue.
That's exactly right. You got that right for sure, Mike. And look, I'm on board with Mike. This Mike on the phone, I don't know. I don't want to put you in that box, Mike, here in the studio. I'm on board. I think the punishment for the violent crimes are normally way too lenient, and these people who do these horrible things should never get out again. I'm sorry. Just because you didn't kill someone because you have bad aim doesn't mean you should be back out on the street again. To me, I mean, you go around and shoot a bunch of people, or you've been arrested 15, 20 times, and they're always a violent. You should be gone, locked up, and that's it. End of story. That's me, but.
No, I think that there's some merit. I mean, and Mike has laid out a lot of the higher order issues with all those topics. One thing that's interesting, he talks about 15, 20 years ago, when you go back and look at the history of capital punishment within the state of Connecticut, through the 80s and into the 90s, there were a number of proposals in the legislature that never made it out, and a few that did, that were expanding capital punishment, to expand it to different types of crimes, shooting a police officer, those kinds of things. And then there was a swing in the late 90s where the pendulum swung the other way, and everything that was being proposed was to do away with capital punishment, to the point that in 2007 it passed the legislature and Governor Rell vetoed it, and it was not overridden. And then they came back in 2012 to repeal the death penalty, and which was prospective, which is how they sold it to a number of legislators it will only be going forward, even though anybody who is an advocate within the legal community should have known that there's no way that would stand up to constitutional scrutiny.
All right, Mike France, state rep, is with us here in the studio. We'd love to hear from you. The fastest hour on radio goes before before you blink your eyes a couple times, and then you're on to Dana Lash, who joins us after we get off the air. But all right, so Mike, you're up in Hartford all the time. We'll switch gears a little bit. And I guess yesterday the commission had a vote, and they're going to go forward with some kind of tolls, correct? Or that's what
Well, it
they
was
said.
the Transportation Committee.
Yeah.
Transportation Committee voted out the governor's plan as well as two others. So the governor, the proposals that had been out, I hesitate to say proposals, but the plans that had been presented in PowerPoint DOT was the 82 gantries.
Mm-hmm.
The governor proposed in his budget, instead of 82, only 54 on 95, 84, 91, and the Merritt Parkway. And so that was the plan that was voted out. There was substantial debate, and it was interesting that the topic of the Special Transportation Fund came up during that discussion, and there's a video capture of Senator Austin making the statement that, we didn't sweep the funds at the end, we just didn't put them in. And as if that makes a difference. And she's... technically, we did. There was about $75 million, very relatively small in comparison, that we did sweep out of the Special Transportation Fund. And ironically, in the special session in December 2015, when we first voted on the constitutional amendment for the lockbox, that same day we voted to reduce the budget by $350 million, of which $35 million came from the Special Transportation Fund. So her statement that we've never taken money out is incorrect. But the larger cause is the money didn't get in. It's the tune of between $700 and $800 million over the last decade that was not put in to the Special Transportation Fund in accordance with state statute.
And she actually said a very similar thing here on the radio with us.
I heard that.
Which, again, I was a little surprised because, and I probably didn't do enough to challenge her on that particular thing. But, there's so many different things. And it was the first time she's been on with us in a long, long time, so I didn't want to make her feel uncomfortable, if you would. But if those of you out there who want to know what we're talking about, here it is. As soon as I can find it, then we'll make it happen. See, I missed it.
The Office of Fiscal Analysis. And I asked them, how many times have we taken money out of the Special Transportation Fund and moved it into the general fund? Well, we've not done that. And I need to say that very clearly. We have not done that. We have not done that. We have not taken money out of the Special Transportation Fund. Not ever, not at all. We diverted some money from going into that, which is different.
You want to explain that to everybody?
Right, and so what she's talking about, which is incorrect, as I just outlined, in December of 2015, we did take $35 million out, and I think it's somewhere in the order of $75 to $100 million. And the Office of Fiscal Analysis, and why she keeps coming back to that, because that's the nonpartisan office. And so that's as everybody, they like to say, the gold standard when they say what they want them to say, or not what they want to have as the message. The challenge with that is the Office of Fiscal Analysis will only tell you what happened to the money once it got in the pot. So if you budget money for a particular purpose, in this case the Special Transportation Fund, they will tell you what actually got put into the STF and then what happened to it.
Right.
They will not deal with what didn't get there, what the legislature didn't put in. But the effect is the same. Whether you take it out after the fact or you didn't put it in, the effect is the same, that there is upwards of $900 million to $1 billion on both sides, didn't get in and taken out. That is one of the contributing factors to why we have a challenge with our infrastructure and why the Department of Transportation is forced to effectively put Band-Aids to maintain roads and bridges instead of actually fixing them like they want to.
All right, let's grab a call. Don on the Canterbury Trail. Don, how are you?
Canterbury Tales, yeah. Hey, you know Doug Davitsky?
I know Doug Davitsky well.
Yeah, great man.
He is.
Yeah. Anyway, maybe you can help me clarify something on this highway stuff. Interstate highways, aren't they built and funded by the federal government?
They are partially funded by the federal government. We get about a little over $700 million a year between road and rail or public transportation money from the federal government.
Oh, okay. So it doesn't take care of the whole bill then?
Correct.
Okay, because I was just wondering. I was always wondering how you could put a state highway toll on a federally funded road.
Well, there are mechanisms. They call them, there's a value pricing model, there's congestion tolling, there's other models that the federal government allows to have tolls be put on interstate highways. If you don't comply with those models, then there's the possibility that you have to pay back some portion of state highway funds. In the case of this situation, the Department of Transportation would certainly not make that mistake because it would be substantial cost and it would not be enacted. But that's how the rules work, is there are structures that the federal government allows for tolls to be installed on existing highways, and you have to comply with their rules.
Oh, okay. All right. Now I understand.
All right, Don. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate you calling in. 860-464-9490, 631-317-1949. So this toll suit over in Rhode Island now, apparently, this says the Fed court was dismissal, I guess. So now they can just do trucks over in Rhode Island?
Yeah, I didn't look and see what the rationale for it. I did see it was dismissed. My understanding from the headlines is that the court, the judicial branch, effectively said that tolls are a tax, therefore it's within the purview of the legislature. But I haven't looked at the legal language to find out exactly the rationale. But that's the the 30-second soundbite, if you will, is that tolls are effectively a tax, therefore within the purview of the state government.
Okay, so if that does fly, is that open up the idea back, or you think that Lamont and the cronies up there are hell-bent on getting the $800 million as opposed to maybe $150, $200 million?
Well, if you were going to say truck only, why would you be talking about the Merritt Parkway? The Merritt Parkway doesn't allow any trucks on it.
How about that?
So I think that the challenge is that one of the frustrations in the campaign versus actual governance is the change in what you commit to versus what you actually do.
Right.
And so, certainly on the campaign trail, Governor Lamont, advocated truck-only tolls just like Rhode Island. Then essentially, as soon as he came into office, now whether that's because he realized he needed more money or he just had that was his plan the whole way along, I don't know. But now we're looking at $800 million from tolls in the limited case of 54 gantries. And if we went to truck only, it would not, I think what his statement was, it would not pay sufficiently for the road infrastructure that needs to happen.
Right.
The concern that I have, though, is the Special Transportation Fund also funds public transportation. And we have expanded that substantially over the last several years, starting with the busway between New Britain and Hartford, expanding that service out to stores, and then the rail line that we just opened last May between New Haven and Springfield, Massachusetts. And so why that's important is the subsidy for those three new public transportation services is over $100 million a year forever. That is money that can't be used to maintain roads, bridges, perform maintenance, and causes us to do different things. And so we are making decisions like that. So where we, those are in place now. And because we took federal money to offset some of the full cost, we have no choice but to operate them.
Right.
So that those are done deals. However, one of the other things that Governor Lamont ran on was this 30-30-30 plan to between the travel time between New York and Hartford.
Right.
The physical limitations of why some of that is aging systems.
Right.
But there are limitations on the bridges that you cross, the waterways between New York and New Haven.
Right.
There's physical limitations on how fast you can travel. So my concern is, given that the new Commissioner of Transportation is a rail guy, and I've talked with him, a great guy, but that's his expertise, and I think that will be his focus. But that's not going to generate any more revenue because you're not going to raise the rates on, even though you're providing better services, unlikely those rates for travel will increase.
Right.
And then you look at the other public transportation systems. Shoreline East, as an example, is subsidized at 96%. Means that you're paying, the taxpayers of Connecticut are paying 96% of the cost of that transit. And the average cost per ride is just over $4 per rider.
Right.
And so that's not sustainable from a public policy perspective. And that's what we've done, which was led by Governor Malloy's $100 billion transportation plan that he had no way to pay for. And he didn't tell anybody he didn't have a way to pay for it. And so a lot of this stuff is really kind of smoke and mirrors, and they really don't have the money or the plan. And that's one of my frustrations now where we are today. Governor Lamont has not endorsed Governor Malloy's plan. He hasn't put out his own plan, and yet he's asking for, effectively twice the money, or almost 3 times the money, for bonding authority to do what?
Right.
The only thing he's talked about is this 30-30-30 plan.
Right.
Well, for those that don't know, for tolls, there's a federal law that says that money must be used for infrastructure, but there is no such law for the gas tax and the diesel tax, motor fuels tax.
Right.
So you get this money in from tolls, you could siphon off money back to the general fund. And for those that don't know, that's what we've done for a number of years, both on the front end and back end, as we just talked about. And we have changed, contrary to what the constitutional amendment says, it doesn't define revenue or expenses. That's defined by the legislature. So it really didn't do anything. And it's not giving any protection to the taxpayers.
It seems a little bit, I guess it's a heavy lift to save 4 or 5 minutes is, I guess, what he was talking about. He actually talked about it in, I think, one of the quotes that I was listening to, because I was going through some audio today. If we could save 4 or 5 minutes on a commute from Hartford to New Haven, but 4 or 5 minutes is not worth $100 billion over the course of 30 years. We got a couple of calls. Let's grab Mary real quick in East Lyme. Mary, how are you? You're on with State Rep Mike France.
Thank you. Lee, I missed, who said that about we didn't take any money out, we diverted it?
That was State Senator Kathy Austin.
Oh, okay. Well, I really love her, as you can tell by my voice. I didn't quite hear who it was because the phone rang at the same time and I had to turn my radio. But you know what? That's the same crap we're going to hear 2 or 3 years down the road with this so-called lockbox. We didn't take anything out. We just diverted it. Correct? They're doing it now. What makes anybody think they're not going to do it later?
You're absolutely correct, Mary.
So, and thank you. I like what Mike is doing, and I always love it when you're on Lee's show, Mike. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. He's the best, man. He's great. Fantastic at breaking it down. Listen, I got to take one more quick break, and we'll come back, give Mike a couple more minutes to wrap it up. But before we get to that break, just a reminder, I don't know, Mike, you play golf? You play golf?
I do.
All right, so there's a virtual, Oakwood Virtual Golf is here, and we're happy they're jumping on board, being part of the show. So oakwoodvirtualgolf.com is the website. I'm going to go over there sometime next week, kind of get a look. But everybody tells me that the place is amazing. It's got this incredible historic bar. You feel right at home. Beer, wine, all that good stuff. 4K TVs all around the place so you can watch all the games and all the action. Plus, of course, they've got this high accuracy simulator. So if you love golf, and you don't got, like, for me, it's great because I wouldn't have to go chase the balls in the woods and stuff like that, right? And you can't lose a ball inside. Maybe I could. Actually, I probably could. But the bottom line is, if you want to go walk, let's say Pebble Beach or Spyglass Hill or Spanish Bay, you can do that at this virtual golf course. They say it's unbelievable. So I'll be able to go next week and report back and give you the hands-on. I can't wait to do that. So anyway, go online, oakwoodvirtualgolf.com. It's great for fun. Join a league, take lessons, and again, it's great for parties as well. So go check that out. Once again, Oakwood Virtual Golf, 293 Oakwood Drive, Glastonbury, Connecticut. One final quick break. We'll come back in 3 minutes. Hang on.
News Now has a new and improved lineup. Weekdays, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Tune in to the voice of freedom, Lee Elci.
I don't want to spend less money on the military. I want to spend more money on the military.
From 10 to noon, enter the world of Mike Gallagher.
President achieving his highest voter approval.
From noon to 1, Lee Elci is back.
That's awesome.
From 1 to 3, check out the alternative conservative, Dana Lash.
Who gives a crap?
Borders, language, and culture dominate the airwaves from 3 to 5 with Michael Savage.
Why are you wearing high heels and a tight skirt? How dare you say that to me?
From 5 to 6 weeknights, 94.9 News Now introduces you to rising star Ben Shapiro.
Democrats believe they have to lash out in anger.
From 6 to 9, we go to war with the Wayne Allen Root Show.
You got Donald Trump freaking out and saying you should be suspended if you do that.
And wrapping up the day, the great Sean Hannity.
Zero to do with Donald Trump.
A new lineup for a big year. 94.9 News Now.
Hello, everybody. Dennis O'Brien from the O'Brien Retirement Investment Group in Mystic, Connecticut, located at exit 90 down from State Law, reminding you all to open your mail because your tax documents are coming. Many of you choose to do your own taxes, but I would urge you to consider using a tax pro this year, especially if you're self-employed or have a lot of changes. Many of of the tax regs are still being written, making it especially hazardous to do your taxes this year. If you need a referral to a tax pro, let me know, because that's one of the many things we do for our clients, no matter how wealthy they are. And remember to tune in 10 a.m. Saturday mornings to the Retirement Life and Investing Show, where we discuss your future, your retirement, your money, and how it all can come together. After 39 years, I can help you with the right questions and help you with the answers, too. And visit us at o'brienretire.com or call me at 860-415-9614. I look forward to meeting you soon, and have a blessed day.
Securities and advisory services through Independent Financial Group, LLC, a registered broker-dealer and investment advisor member, FINRAS IPC.
Your business is everything. It's your life. What would you do in the event of a fire, flood, or break-in at your office or home? A Liberty Safe makes all the difference. Hi, Zach Dexter from Dexter's Best, your Liberty Safe dealer in Norwich. We'll personally help you find the best protection for your computer backups, confidential documents, and surveillance records. Our American-made Liberty Safes are equipped with outlets and hookups functional for business storage needs. Dexter's Best, safe and secure for a lifetime. Size up our safes at Dexter's Best on Sturtevant Street in Norwich and at dextersbest.com.
Hello?
This is your official call to action. And by call, I mean call 860-464-9490 or 631-317-1949. If you want to go to our 7th birthday party at the Cabaret Theater at Mohegan Sun, 860-464-9490, 631-317-1949. Call now.
All right, so we only got like 3 minutes left, everyone. And again, I want to thank everybody for tuning in the fastest hour in radio. Once again, full power radio across Connecticut. We're on 4 stations right now, soon to be 5. State Rep Mike France is with us, and we always appreciate his time. So, Mike, we only have like 3 minutes left. Anything you want to let everybody know about in the last 3 minutes or so?
Well, I think the biggest thing is, all the major issues that are happening up in Hartford, whether it be the forced school regionalization, whether it be tolls, whether it be the gun control bills, whether it be all the different things. There's taxing plastic bags. There are some in Hartford that feel that those are done deals, that they're done, they're working on the next things. And it's still time to have your voice heard. And even though, as right now, yesterday, 3 bills were voted out of committee for tolls, it doesn't mean the debate is over. They haven't gotten to the House, they haven't gotten to the Senate. So what I'd encourage people, whatever issue is your issue or multiple issues, make sure that not only your own legislator knows, but also the heads of the committees. And they can go to the CGA website, www.cga.ct.gov.
Right.
And there's a link at the top called Committees, and under that, pick your committee. And then there's a link off of each one of those pages that's membership. And the first 6 listed on there are the 2 chairs, the 2 co-chairs, which are the Democrats that are on the committee, and then there's the 2 ranking members. And that's the leadership that decides what bills are screened to come before the committee and then get out of committee. Right. But also they're the ones that will bring those bills to the House or Senate floor as well.
Right. Now, the bills, let's say, for example, and like I said, we only have a minute, so I'm sorry to throw this at you at the end. But all right, so let's say the bill's presented to you guys. It says it's going to be 50 gantries, right? And you guys start talking amongst yourselves. Can you change that bill to make it 22 gantries or 11? Or do you have to vote on the 50?
No, you can amend any bill.
Right.
You can change that. The challenge is that the bills as presented probably aren't going to look like. They're going to look probably more like what was passed out of committee last year, which was giving DOT authority to do whatever they want. And then come back with a plan to the legislature, and the last sentence of the bill says that if whatever plan is presented to the legislature, if we don't take action within 15 days, it's deemed approved.
Yeah.
And
That's
what
BS.
effectively we're doing is telling DOT, authorizing Department of Transportation, unless the language changes, to enter into agreements with the federal government. without having to come back to the legislature either.
Right.
And so those are the things how the legislators who are advocates for these things don't want their fingerprints on the last bill to say, I voted to install 54 gantries or 22 or whatever it is. They don't want to have that on them and what the amount is. And so they're transferring that authority. That's why they have the Transportation Authority bill as well.
Yeah.
That will likely have that authority.
That's slippery. That's
It
ugly.
is.
That's not good. And it's shady. And Mike, thank you, buddy. We'll get you on very, very soon again.
My pleasure.
It's best. You're the best explaining this stuff and breaking it down. We're out of time. You guys have a great day. Thank you all. Until tomorrow, we'll see you.